top level, I think the goals are good. I think they encompass what the majority of our community wants to see in one part or the other. I think when we get to the priorities, I mean, that's where the teeth need to be, as we see in our meetings when we have neighborhoods pointing to a goal, but there's not necessarily a priority that's consistent with it. And I think that's why that conversation is going to be so important, because if we do the work up front, we can save ourselves hours and hours and hours of opposition in the long run. So I do think we should take that time. The housing types, I think, is great. I think we've long had this conversation. I think people it draws a little bit of concern, but I always tell people, look at Los Robles. It has duplexes, it has quads, it has 8-unit apartment complexes in a nice walkable neighborhood that has increasing property values. I think that's kind of what we want to see all across our city. One thing not contemplated right now, Artie, is and we've had this conversation at the city. I've had this conversation with environmentalists, with the business community, with developers, with neighborhoods, and that's parking minimums, particularly within the urban core and the USA. Here's something we have broad agreement across all sects of our community that we should eliminate them. If I'm building a house and I know that I ride a bike and I take an Uber, we don't need the government telling us I need to build a parking space in front of my house. If I operate a business that I know will only have 6 customers at a time, we don't need a formula anywhere from the comp plan to the land development code telling us how much parking is needed. So what I would like us to see as part of this process is to control F parking from the comp plan to the land development code and see what we can eliminate. It's good for the environment, and it'll encourage that infill all across our community. We have huge parking lots that are just dead space going to waste. And when we look at how much housing we can build, we don't count that space because it's taken up by our parking lot. So I mean, that's just one point and one thing I think we need to look at.